Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to Exploring Awesome. I'm your host, Jim Kellner, and I'm really glad you're listening. Today's topic, fear, and maybe what it's holding you back from accomplishing in your life, doing in your life. And so by the end of this episode, you're going to find out. I'm going to talk about some of my experiences with clients, specifically with public speaking clients and flying, because those are two of the main ones that we often see in hypnotherapy and neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, which I do. I'm also going to talk about my two big fears, and I want your feedback. I want to know if you think I should work on getting over them. I'm not sure if it's something I want to work on, but because I've got a lot of stuff to work on, so I got a long list of things that I want to change in my life. Still, I know you may have thought I was perfect. Nope, not quite there yet. And I'm going to talk about a fear that I actually did get over, and then I'll end up talking about some things that you can do to get over your fears and start living the life that you truly want to live. And I've also got a couple of special announcements, special offers at the end. So before we get into today's topic, though, I do want to thank everyone who came out to the shows in the Pacific Northwest. I had just a fantastic time at the Comedy Underground. I also did a show at Tim's Tavern, just a small one. Had a few people up on stage and really had a good time there. And they've already invited us back, so I'll be back up there pretty soon. And then I got to tell you, worked with some graduates this time. The first time that I've worked with high school graduates. And I mean, what I mean is at a graduation party. I've worked with a lot of high school graduates. What I mean is, they oftentimes have these overnight senior parties, and so I got to work with some graduates. Fife High School and Cascade High School did a show for both of them, and wow, they were just amazing subjects. I mean, just astounding. They went into hypnosis really quick, really deep. They put on some really good skits for everybody, and I just had a blast doing that. Although the bad thing is really screwed up my sleep schedule, because you end up doing like 3 o'clock in the morning and 1 o'clock in the morning, things like that. So anyway, had a great time. And great news, I'm actually, the way scheduling worked out, I'm actually up in the Northwest again at the end of July. And I probably won't be back then again until probably September. I'm trying to go about every 2 to 3 months. And so hey, if you get a chance, come out to Tacoma Comedy Club on July 20th. And also doing a couple of private parties, which you can't come to, sorry. And also at the end of this episode, I've got a special offer for the show at Tacoma Comedy Club. Now, if you happen to be interested in doing some sort of help for the for cancer funding and that kind of thing, I'm doing a show for the Relay for Life out in Sumner, Washington on the 25th. And then the 26th, I'm really excited about this, guys. I'm doing a show at the Fourth Wall Theater again. Yeah, we've been back. This is like the third time that me and DJ CJ have been out there. And this is a special one because it's a dinner show. And so that's really exciting. And then also doing an elementary school this time. That's gonna be fun. Because I've worked with a lot of younger kids, and they're great subjects, really are, and had some really marvelous results. But I've never done a hypnosis show for them, so this is going to be exciting. All right, on to the show, people. Fear. You know, the psychologists will tell us that we're only born with two fears. Only two. Do you know what those are? All right, time to call in. No, I'm just kidding. This is not a call-in show today, although I'm hoping to schedule that very, very soon. The only two fears that we have are the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. That's it. That's all we're born with. So, how do we get all these other fears? Because, as we all know, many of us have quite a lot of other fears. And so, how do we get them? Well, sometimes something happens to us. You know, maybe you watched a movie or something that scared you, or one thing that happens and is that the same way we learn just about everything else, we learn from our caregivers. And so if your mom, your dad, someone around you is afraid of, say, snakes or spiders or something like this, then there's a fairly good chance that you'll be afraid too, based on especially if you've seen them react to a situation. If, for instance, one of them saw a snake and they freaked out, then you're likely to do that as well. And so, over the years, I've worked with an awful lot of clients on a bunch of different issues. The two big ones, as I said in the intro, are public speaking and flying. And I do want to just mention a quote that I think is really, really powerful, and it's by Nelson Mandela. Now, he actually said that, this is Nelson Mandela speaking, "I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear." Isn't that powerful? I think that is just really powerful, because it really kind of lets us know that just because we feel fear doesn't mean that we should let that stop us. Okay? And that just the idea that you are afraid of something doesn't mean that you should give up, that you got to persevere. And so, speaking of public speaking, to do you probably heard the Seinfeld joke, maybe not. It says, according to most studies, people's number one fear is public speaking. Number two is death. Death is number two, which means that the average person, if you go to a funeral, you'd rather be in the casket than doing the eulogy. And I tell you, this is one of the things that I find with people that come in for public speaking. It's extremely frightening for them, and the interesting thing is they oftentimes think that they're alone. What I want to do today is let you know, if you're afraid of public speaking, if you're afraid of drowning or just whatever, flying, all these kinds of things, you're not alone. There's a lot of people like that. Now, something that may surprise you is that even people that do a lot of public speaking oftentimes are afraid as well. So I'm talking about actors, comedians, people that do presentations, teachers, oftentimes are afraid. I'll tell you, I was terrified actually when I took my first acting class, and I'd done speech in school. In high school, it was a required class. Otherwise, I would not have taken it because I was extremely shy back then. And by the end of it, I'd sort of gotten over it. But then years later, I took speech again and kind of got over it again. And then finally, when I first started acting, oh my goodness, I can still remember going up for my to do my first monologue in front of the class, because it seems like, for me at least, every single public speaking type thing caused more fear. Okay, so just because I'd gotten comfortable doing speeches didn't get me over my fear of then acting. And oh man, I can still remember some of the monologue, just a little bit of as a detective from like the 40s or something, really corny language and things like that. Well, dated language, probably wasn't corny then. And so then when I decided to start, and so through acting, I kind of mostly, well, I won't say got over it, but got more comfortable with it. Although I got to tell you, I still, just about every single time that I go out on stage, or even just in a like an interactive show, like if I'm doing a murder mystery, I still feel afraid. And I still feel some fear. Now, it's gotten better. I'll tell you, the time that I was doing some shows back in May, boy, I was really, really stressed about it. In fact, I kind of let it get me so much that I didn't even do the things that would have helped. And I ended up seeing a friend of mine, Tina Huang, who does, I hope I pronounced her last name right. I've never actually heard her pronounce her last name, so she's going to be on the show so we can laugh about this at some point. I'm going to have her on in the next month or so. But she does energy work, and she did some energy work on me. And I tell you what, the last time I did shows now in, actually I guess it was April when I was really kind of freaking out. Not freaking out, but I mean more nervous than maybe usual. Then these last set of shows I did, I was much more comfortable. I was able to focus my energy on what would help. And some of the things, let me just talk about some of the things that help right now if you're thinking of public speaking. Number one, rehearsal. Rehearse it, get it down really well. That's very important. Another thing is actually doing some visualization, imagining. So imagine what you're going to see and hear and feel during the experience, and you'll get more comfortable with it. Also, exercise is important. If you can do some sort of meditation or something like that, just sort of try and get rid of as many of those stress hormones as you can, and that's going to help you quite a bit. But so as I was saying, it's not just me though. I mean, if I've talked to a lot of other and so I'm sorry. Let me go back just a minute. So got comfortable in being an actor mostly. Still a little bit of fear here and there. Then when I started doing stand-up comedy, once again, I mean, my first open mic, you'd think I'd never been on stage in my life. I mean, I was panic-stricken. And this was, gosh, I don't know, 10 years ago or more. Yeah, probably more than 10 years ago. And then when I shifted into doing comedy stage hypnosis, again, man, I tell you, really had a difficult time. Although I was fortunate when I started doing the stage hypnosis, because by then I had a lot of tools in my toolbox, meaning that I was aware of using meditation, exercise. I used some hypnosis and a lot of we actually call it sometimes future pacing, sometimes compelling future, and that's where you're actually imagining yourself sort of having achieved the goal, being on stage, having a great time, and everyone loving it and everything like that. So yeah, it was very interesting, because that I would each time I would feel kind of almost like starting all over again. Actually, I won't say starting all over again, because it's definitely not as bad as maybe it once was. But so I have clients come in and they all seem to think that they watch people and they go, oh well, they're not I'm not like those other people in my say my Toastmasters group or something. I have that sometimes, or people that get up in front of the group at work and speak. And sure, there are some people that are just more comfortable than others, but there are a lot of people that are sort of led somehow to speaking in public, performing in public, that are actually pretty uncomfortable with it. There's actually quite a lot of introverts and naturally shy people that are sort of, for whatever reason, kind of drawn to that sort of activity. It's their as an outlet. I mean, you can read a lot of interviews with actors, and a lot of them will say that they're very shy. But also I found that with comedians. In fact, and I haven't done like a study or anything, but the only comedian that I've ever talked to that said he actually doesn't get nervous before going on stage was a friend of mine, Dean Olson. And I'm not saying that other ones don't feel that way. It's just he's the only one I've ever talked to about this, and he said that. And he's been doing comedy for, man, I don't know, 20 years or so. And he actually said that he actually feels calmer the closer he gets to stage time, because that's where he's most comfortable, is being on stage. And apparently he said that they did some kind of they hooked up Jay Leno at one point to like a heart monitor and stuff, and they kind of followed him through his day and found out that he actually relaxed more as it was time for him to get on stage. And so maybe it's just a matter of just doing thousands and thousands of performances, and I'm probably, I don't know, I'm probably less than 1,000 at this point. I got to think time speaking in front of people, I'm probably under 1,000. I don't know. I'm not positive. It would be tough to figure that out. So anyway, so know this, you're not alone, okay? Other people feel this way. So this is extremely, I think, important for people that want to do public speaking. Now, the way to get over these kind of things, let me just talk about moving on to flying now too. This is a place where people are letting something get in the way of really kind of enjoying life in the way that they want to. And so, I had a client actually, I've had several clients for fear of flying. This client in particular, though, really stood out in my mind. He was an excellent subject. I mean, he had to take anxiety meds to fly every time. And because of the work that he had to travel a lot. Now he ended up driving far more than he wanted to be, which is costly, and had to turn down some opportunities because just didn't want to fly. Also couldn't take trips that he wanted to vacation spots, that kind of thing. And we did one session. He was really just an excellent subject. He ended up, the anxiety level about it went down dramatically after just the one session. And then actually heard from him about a year later. Because, here's the thing with hypnosis. It gets better as you keep doing it. And so as long as you keep listening to your hypnosis, it's going to get, better and better. You're going to get better at overcoming that fear or being more successful in whatever you're working on. And it was about 6 months ago, I believe, that he sent me an email and said that for the first time he was able to go on the plane without using the medications, and was able to book a flight without any kind of fear, which before there was a lot of fear in even booking a flight. So I thought that was really awesome. This is life altering, and it's worth it. That's really what we really want to invite you to think about is it's absolutely worth whatever you got to go through to get over it. And for some people, it's going to just deciding that it is worth it and I'm just going to do it. For other people, using some special techniques, depending on how bad the anxiety is around it or something, some special techniques where, hypnosis can help, and NLP, which, the way I like to look at NLP is, if you don't know what it is, I really kind of think of it as just mental exercises. That's all. We use some specialized mental exercises. And just like physical exercise, you can't necessarily bench press one day and then have great pecs the next. Sometimes you got to, with exercise, you got to really work at it. Now, with some of these mental exercises, some people will have a kind of a dramatic result, but sometimes it just takes time. So it's definitely worth it. Now, the other things that you can do to get over these kind of fears is desensitization. And so, one of the things like I was talking about was doing the future pacing or compelling future. And what you're doing there is you imagine yourself at the end result, or even going through all the steps. So you might even just imagine yourself getting ready for, let's say it's a performance. So you're getting ready for it, imagining yourself rehearsing for it. Imagine yourself out in front of the audience and imagining their faces and the words that are coming out of your mouth and all of this. If it's something with flying, there's actually many airports. If you call them up, they actually have programs where you can go and they will help you to get over it. And I'm not sure. I think that they're free, but I'm not positive. And there's probably different ones. But they'll actually have some classes. You get to talk to some pilots, and I think they show some films. And you can even go on the airplane. And so, what a great opportunity. Now, the other thing is actually just going to the airport, right? That's a good way to, and watching the planes take off. And that'll help you to kind of desensitize yourself. And obviously, I'm not, I'm not expecting to cure your phobia in this, 30-minute podcast. What I really want to impart to you is that it is possible, and that it's worth it, because it really can change your entire life in a lot of ways. If I would have let fear get in my way of that first acting class, I don't even know where I'd be right now. I certainly wouldn't be doing stage hypnosis shows. I wouldn't be, teaching classes and probably not even doing this podcast, because sometimes these fears actually have a tendency to get worse. The more you support them, the worse they get. And this is one of the things that happens sometimes. I've had clients that, they're sort of getting to a point where they're a little bit afraid to leave the house. Somebody who's kind of borderline agoraphobic. And the worst thing to do is to kind of let that, kind of support that phobia by not going out. You got to push yourself if you can, and there's some special techniques, and I encourage you to, talk to someone, a professional psychologist, a hypnotherapist, somebody like that can help you get over it if you need that. All right, my fears. Are you ready? Because I'm going to want your feedback on if I should get over them. Now, first of all, I want to say I used to be deathly afraid of spiders, and it didn't matter what kind it was. I mean, I had the same reaction whether it was a black widow or if it was daddy long legs. I would just freak out. In fact, when I was younger, in fact, some of my friends can back me up on this, and family members, I used to do what was lovingly called the spider dance. And many of you I know are familiar with the spider dance because you do it as well. And I would jump up and flail and possibly even take my clothes off to get away from the possibility that there might be a spider in my clothes. And I'll tell you what actually worked for me on that one was just exposure. I ended up doing landscaping for a little while, and I can remember this one time I was working for my friend Jim Cooper, and I was actually had to mowing a lawn, and I had to go around this big huge tree. And as I walked through it, there were a bunch of spider webs, and I kept having to go through and go around it and stuff. And for some reason, somehow, that just sort of kind of got me mostly over it. Now, here's the thing. I'm probably not going to be the guy that has a tarantula for a pet, right? I'm not going to, invite spiders into my life. And if I see one, I will, sort of avoid it. But I don't freak out about it, and I don't run from the building or anything like that. All right. Are you ready for mine? Okay. Probably my greatest fear is sharks. Sometimes I can even get myself freaked out in a lake, thinking about maybe not necessarily a shark, but what could be in there. And I've never even been in a lake in like Florida or anything, so there's probably not an alligator or a crocodile or anything like that. But anyway, I can sort of get myself freaked out even in a lake if I let myself. Now, I actually had an experience in Mexico years ago, and we were in this lagoon, and there were hundreds of people around, and so there was this little island out in the middle. I thought I'm gonna swim out there with everybody else, and I thought, well, what if there's sharks, because it was attached to the ocean, of course. And I thought, well, you know what, there's plenty of other people here that they could go after first. And so I swam out, and then, got time to come back. And so I started swimming back, and then all of a sudden I just got this idea that there could be a shark behind me. And I don't want to look back because I don't want to know. And boy, I just started flailing and going just as fast as I could trying to get out, which of course was probably the worst thing to do because then you attract them if they're around. And oh man, I did not stop until I was 20 feet on shore, just in case there was a land shark chasing me. And so that's my fear. And I mean, I can go in lakes and stuff. It doesn't really bother me. I can go in the ocean to a certain extent, but I'm certainly not going to sign up for a scuba diving class or a snorkeling class. And I don't know, is this something I should get over? As I said, I've got a lot of stuff that I'm constantly working on. So, I could certainly use some NLP or a hypnosis for it. The thing is I don't know that I want to get over it because the reward doesn't seem worth the effort. Is the thing. So now with public speaking, and that can be your choice too. You can decide, it's just not worth it to me to want to speak in front of people. So I don't want to put myself through that. And also, for me, it feels like a valid fear because even though I know that there are sharks rarely kill people, there's also you could drown in the ocean. There's jellyfish and all these other things. And so, but I watch shows with that show like underwater and everything. It looks beautiful, and people that scuba dive and that sort of thing. They say how great it is, and so I sort of think it might be good, but I'm not sold on it yet. I don't know that I want it. Like I said, I don't know if I want to get over it. So I'd love to have your feedback. Email me. You can go over to jimkellner.com. There's a email form on there, or I invite you to text me. You can text me. In fact, I'd love your feedback on the show as well, if you'd like. So I'm going to give my phone number. This time it's 209-852-6642. 209-852-6642. And email jim@jimkellner.com. 2 L's, 1 N. And the other fear that I have is getting stuck. And so it's not really like claustrophobia unless I'm being touched on all sides, if that makes sense. So I don't like crawling under a car, not just because I'm afraid it's going to fall on me, but I'm just afraid I'm going to get stuck. And so that's another thing where it doesn't really get in my way that much in life. I don't necessarily want to be crawling around under cars. I don't want to go spelunking, you know, exploring caves and that kind of thing. Doesn't seem all that interesting to me. And so I don't know if that's worth getting over. But again, I invite your feedback. Let me know. Should I get over it? Should I not? And I think that one actually came about. I know where the shark one came from. Jaws, definitely. It definitely came from Jaws and similar programming. And the probably like many other people. But the other one is I actually had when I was a little kid. I had the my bed I was underneath it because I sort of liked to do that kind of thing when I was a kid. I think I remember going under the bed a lot, just kind of hiding or whatever. And it actually fell on me, and I was stuck. And so I had to call, and my mom finally came in and rescued me, thank goodness. But I don't know, this fear of like I'd be stuck forever or something. And I will tell you there's one area where maybe the whole shark thing has gotten in my way. I always thought I'd be a great surfer, dude. I could just be like hanging out on the beach, hang five, all this. And my friend Rich, when I was over visiting LA a while back, said he wanted me to come over sometime and go surfing with him. And I'm like, nope, not gonna happen. And so maybe missing out on a fun opportunity. I don't know. Let me know. Let me know what you think. All right. So we've talked about some of the ways to get over them, and so there's definitely some things that you can do to get over your fears, and it's so absolutely worth it to get over your fears. The reasonable ones. Now we also have other fears. Most people have fears of losing your job, becoming homeless, or getting sick, those kind of things. But as long as they're not getting in your way, as long as they're not huge, I don't know that you need to worry about them too much. But in fact, I'm actually working on a book with a buddy of mine. I actually met him at a mastermind. I got to tell you, I've been doing this mastermind meeting, and if you don't know what a mastermind is, I encourage you to look at. We'll probably just look online, mastermind, and you'll find it. But in Napoleon Hill's book, it's called Think and Grow Rich. There's a chapter on it. And it's basically getting a bunch of like-minded individuals together and kind of helping each other to become successful. And so one of my mastermind colleagues and I are writing a book on making changes in your life. As far as he just went through a big, huge change. He's an entrepreneur. He does online magazine publishing, and he finally was able to quit his job. And he actually used some NLP techniques because there is that idea of security versus living the life you really want to live. And so he finally got to a point where he used some of these mental exercises to help him to move forward. And so we're going to write about his experiences and some of the things that you can actually. I'm going to contribute some things that you can actually do in my experiences with clients. So it's kind of funny that it came out this way because I'd already been planning to do this episode on fear, and then when we were talking, it just sort of came up that we should write this book, and so we're actually working on that right now. We have the rough draft and everything done, so that's kind of exciting. But there's we all face so much fear at every opportunity. If you let it get in your way, it just gets worse. It really doesn't get better. Avoiding your fear will not make it better. It won't. So just know that it is absolutely worth making the change. And so I do want to thank you all for listening. I'm going to wrap up the show now. And please, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please do get a hold of me. I love to have your feedback. Some of you have been great about the feedback, and I appreciate it. Please share this with your friends, if you will. I can use all the help I can get to get the message out there. And so a couple of things. If you want to go to the show at Tacoma Comedy Club, and on the 20th, email me. I've got a limited number of complimentary tickets. So email me, jim@jimkellner.com. Easiest just to go to my website, jimkellner.com. or exploringawesome.com, and that'll redirect you, and use the form on there. And then also here at North Mountain Cardio, we've actually decided to do a special, and I wish I had it offhand, but it's basically three hypnosis sessions for $149, or 6 for $219, which is it's way over 50% off the normal rate. And so if you're in the Phoenix area and you'd like to come and see me, please give us a call at North Mountain Cardio. That number is 602-714-6783. 602-714-6783. And then I've decided to go ahead and make that available to my clients that are out of state. And so you can see me in person when I'm up in Seattle or in one of the other cities when I'm doing a show. And or you can see me over Skype, or we can do it over the telephone, whatever you prefer. And you can reach me directly, 209-852-6642. That's you can call or text that number. So anyway, I appreciate your time, and I do want to invite you all to come out to the shows that I'm doing if you're in the Northwest, and hopefully we'll do some here in Phoenix pretty soon. So with that, I just want to say thanks for listening to Exploring Awesome. I'm your host, Jim Kellner, and so take care, be well, be awesome.